Alright, what's chilling dudes? Welcome back to another What's on My Mind. And in this one it's going to be, what did I want to call it? New Zealand Stereotypes? NZ Stereotypes? Something like that. I just wanted to talk about it very briefly and just like very briefly, honestly. I'm not really sure about what sort of stereotypes you have about my country. About my country. But I do want to briefly just explain what New Zealand is about, and maybe my brief explanation will clear up some of the stereotypes you have. I can clear up some of the stereotypes which you guys might have about New Zealand. And let's begin. So New Zealand is basically just a Western society, like every other society. It's not a country in the West, but it is labelled Western country. It is kind of like Australia, except it's a very, very small colony of 4 million people. We are a happiest country tied with Singapore and Hong Kong, even though Hong Kong's not a country. And we're also the least corrupt country in the world, tied with Denmark. We are a population of 4 million people, and yeah, it is really friendly here. Like, we have a lot of pride in New Zealand. When you see a New Zealand person like on the internet, they usually have some sort of pride for the country. You know, they will defend, or they will proudly exclaim, "Oh, I'm a New Zealander," compared to everyone else who never explains that, "Oh, I'm British" or "I'm an American," for example. Like, you'll see a New Zealand citizen do it so much more because we're just so proud about our country and what we stand for. So we're a population of 4 million. Our country is double the size of Britain. Well, double the size. We are, like, Britain is so overpopulated compared to us. We have two countries. Well, sorry, not two countries. We have two islands. We have a North Island, which we call the North Island, and we have a South Island, which again we call the South Island. Those are our two main islands, and then our South Island, I think, is as big as Britain. And it's very funny because we are basically at the same altitude as Britain. So we have similar weather patterns and whatnot. So we are a lot like Western society. We're not like a Pacific island or anything like that. We are very, very much very similar to Britain. And we do emulate Britain a lot because we used to be a British colony like Australia, for example, and India, and not South Africa, just India and Australia off the top of my head. And then we got independence after Britain retreated and gave us independence. But we still owe a lot of loyalty to Britain. Our society is definitely influenced a lot by American media, but we are much, much more like Britain, in my opinion. Although no one can really claim 2 or 4. It's just something I observed. We are on the southeast of Australia. Australia did offer for New Zealand to become a state of Australia and officially become a colony underneath Australia. So we, like, Australia and New Zealand together would just be called Australia. But New Zealand is happy having its own little independence as a country, and most likely will never become ever under Australian rule. Like, Australia is so big, right? And then New Zealand is like very far off Australia. Like, our closest country isn't actually Australia. It's an island called New Caledonia, which is a French colony. So our closest neighbour is New Caledonia, whereas we have a rivalry with Australia because people keep mistaking New Zealand to be a part of Australia, and our rugby team is better than Australia's, so there is a lot of competition there. But that's enough about what New Zealand is really. A lot of New Zealand is filled with forestry and farmland, so we are very much an agricultural country. We're known for dairy, wool, woods. That's pretty much it. Dairy, wood, meat, and whatever I said. Wood, wool, dairy, meat. Yeah, we are very much an agricultural country. And those are our main exports. We have more sheep than people. Yes, that is true. That is a stereotype, and there are more sheep than people in New Zealand. Our sheep also provide some very, very good wool for sweaters like Stuff called merino and icebreakers are very warm to wear. In winter you only really need one layer of icebreaker to walk around in, whereas I see people in like Britain for example, they wrap up in their like 3 layers or whatnot. So we are usually quite warm in New Zealand. We do speak English, our official language is English, and we have a second official language called Maori, which is the native language previously of New Zealand, owned of course by the Maori, except the British people came along and enslaved the Maori people like they did with the Indians in India and the Aborigines in Australia. The British used to be quite cruel, I dare say. A lot of our cities are alongside the coast. Most of them, some of them are landlocked, but they are usually around things like hot springs, for example, lakes, mountains, just beautiful areas, mostly just lakes and hot pools. There is geothermal activity around New Zealand. That is quite nice. There are what are they called? Hot springs? Hot pools. No, they're just called hot pools. So they are naturally heated hot pools. Those are nice. There are a lot of like very exotic plants and birds here. So what happened was when all the countries split off away from each other, like in the very beginning, New Zealand split off, and our animals were basically just birds. There were no predators to hunt the birds. They were just birds, and a lot of the birds didn't need wings because they were never hunted by predators. Then when the early settlers came along with their like cats and dogs, those hunted the exotic birds very, very quickly. So a lot of our exotic birds have gone extinct. Some of them have become endangered, severely endangered. The kiwi is one of them, and that's what we're known for. New Zealanders are known as Kiwis, and kiwi is a slang for the brown flightless bird. And then also there is the kiwi fruit, which is named after the kiwi as well because it's brown and whatnot, but it used to be called the Chinese gooseberry. That's something else entirely. The kiwi, we just name ourselves the kiwi because we are exotic, and the kiwi looks really, really cool. I'm not sure exactly why we chose it, but it is a brown, fat, flightless bird. But we do take pride in calling ourselves Kiwis, like the Australians call themselves Aussies, or what? The Wallabies? No, that's the rugby team. We just call ourselves the Kiwis, honestly. Like the Australians call themselves the Aussies, the Americans call themselves the Americans, and the British people just call them British. Okay, so just Kiwis, just New Zealand people just call ourselves Kiwis. That's slang. Anything else? We are very spaced out. We have a very small community. Our capital city is Wellington and has about 400,000 people in its local city, but many more around it. We are very spaced out. We are very culturally happy. We've got a lot of cafes in Wellington, and in Auckland, which is our largest city, it has 1.2 million people. It's got a lot of immigrants who come along from other countries to live in New Zealand, and it is a very big, thriving city. Very disorganized as well. Christchurch is in the south. I think it has about 350,000 people, a little less than Wellington. No, I think Christchurch has a little bit more than Wellington, well, it's between 350 and 450,000 in Christchurch, and it was damaged by an earthquake which happened because New Zealand is actually along a fault line, and that fault line could damage the capital city, Wellington, or Christchurch, and Christchurch itself was destroyed, or not destroyed, was damaged severely by an earthquake. 2 earthquakes, a few years back. So they are currently in the stage of rebuilding. But you would visit New Zealand to visit the beautiful, beautiful landscapes. It is absolutely beautiful and breathtaking over here. You could visit for the skiing. There are the slopes in Queenstown, for example, which is a tourist town. There are lots of slopes to ski on, for the forest, for camping and whatnot. Or you could go visit Wellington for the very smooth cafes. You could visit Christchurch. It's known as the Garden City. You can visit Auckland for the yachting. Yeah, there's so many places to visit in New Zealand. It's just beautiful and it's very relaxed and everyone is super friendly here. We've all got an accent like I, but you get used to it. It is super awesome here. I love it. I love being a New Zealander. There's just a lot of pride of being a part of a small community which definitely defends itself around the world. And it has a lot of peace here. We are definitely safe from all of the American tropes, all the British, I don't know, a lot of plagues in Europe and America. New Zealand is quite sheltered. We have an ocean between between us and America. And of course our time zone means that we are the first country, I think, to experience a new time zone change, apart from Fiji, which is a Pacific island, by the way. So we experience the new day ahead of everyone else. Like, I upload my videos on the day ahead, for example, on a Thursday, and then you guys experience it on a Wednesday. We do have a lot of barbecues, which we do call barbies, like Australia. But barbies are just extremely easy ways to cook meals during the summer, at least, or even in winter. You just open your barbie, you grill meat, and then you serve it. It's very, very easy. Or it's also a social activity, so you get all of the males tending the barbecue. All of the males just hang around it in like a semicircle, each holding a beer and just chatting while they tend the barbecue. And then the women go on the inside and they prepare the salads and whatnot. It is a very social activity, and there's a lot of beer. New Zealand is really, really infamously known for binge drinking, but that's because we like our beer, I guess. And we've also got some very good wine in New Zealand. I think that basically just covers all of the New Zealand stereotypes you guys might have for New Zealand. I can't speak for Australia because I'm not Australian. We're mostly made up of Caucasian white people. We have a pretty big amount of Asians, a lot of Indians in Auckland. We have a lot of Maori people left over from whatever enslavement the British people did, the British settlers. Overall, we don't really have an official religion. We allow for any religion, really. And then gay marriage, I think we are for it. I don't really think there's anything else. No. I would recommend you guys go visit New Zealand though. It is a beautiful place and I do recommend 100%. Anyway, that's gonna do me. Thank you guys so much for listening to this What's on My Mind. This has been torbray, of course. What New Zealand stereotypes would you guys like to have clarified by me, a New Zealand resident? Because I will reply to any comment any comment down below about whatever New Zealand stereotype you have, and I'll try and clarify it for you. If you have the reply button, you do need, I think, a Google Plus account for me to reply to you though. Anyway, that's got to do with me. Cheers for watching, guys. Well, cheers for listening, guys. I'll catch you on the next episode of What's on My Mind. Or if you want to go check out one of my videos, then feel free to. Gaming channel in the description. Cheers for watching, guys. Oh, cheers for listening, guys. I'll see you guys next time.